Today I want to have a brief discussion on effective communication. I want to start off with a question. Are we communicating effectively today? And are we communicating righteously? We're going to get into these topics, but first, this is an important question to ask ourselves in reflection, because communication is a vital part of our lives. It's how we connect to others and how we maintain our relationships with our loved ones and brothers and sisters. On the other hand, it can be something that causes division amongst us and can be used as a tool to defame individuals. But most importantly, communication is also a part of how we develop and grow our relationship with the Most High Yah as well. It's how we can strengthen our relationship with Him. So this is an important aspect of our lives to examine, to make sure that we are communicating in a way that is purposeful, reasonable, and honorable. So with communication, there are several forms we can utilize. For example, we can express ourselves verbally and also through our actions. Daily, we are speaking to others in our conversations, and a big part of that involves listening. Some of us rather speak than do the listening part, but in order to have an effective conversation, both parties must be engaged in both the speaking and listening aspects. Also, actions that we take can be used to communicate something to others. By demonstration and leading by example, we can effectively show our true intentions on a matter. As the saying goes, actions speak louder than words. So we must be very conscious of those actions that we take, because we are always communicating something to others. Now I want to go over a few examples in the scriptures where we can see communication being implemented. Some are examples of good and effective communication, and others are examples of things we should be wary of falling into when we are expressing ourselves to others. First, I want to read a couple of scriptures in Proverbs, which is a great book of wisdom that gives advice on how we should govern ourselves in our lives. Proverbs mentions ways that we can communicate wisely and ways in which we shouldn't communicate. Proverbs chapter 21, verses 21 through 24 says, "The wise in heart shall be called prudent, and the sweetness of the lips increaseth learning. Understanding is a wellspring of life unto him that hath it, but the instruction of fools is folly. The heart of the wise teacheth his mouth, and addeth learning to his lips. Pleasant words are as an honeycomb, sweet to the soul and health to the bones." Proverbs chapter 18, verse 13. "He that answereth a matter before he heareth it, it is folly and shame unto him." In these two instances, we can see examples of verbal communication. Solomon advises to speak with pleasant words to others in our lifetimes. When we do so, we can bring forth understanding in our conversations and create a pleasant environment for those who are the audience. And it is this overall pleasant dialogue that will create peace and harmony with other people. But if we look at this scripture from an opposite point of view, if we don't speak to one another in a kind manner, then what kind of environment can we create? How can we affect the other person? Well, there's a saying that says, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me." But this is not truly the case. People can suffer verbal abuse, and harmful words spoken to people can have a lasting effect on their lives. So in order to communicate in a great, effective way, we must be cognizant of the words we are speaking to others. Of course, different situations call for different things to be said, but we shouldn't be communicating to others in a cruel and hateful way. When we take a look at this other verse here in chapter 18, we see a way that we should avoid communicating to others. Constantly on social media, we see people arguing with one another and interrupting one another just so that they can get their point across and discredit the other person. How will we effectively get our points across if we're always debating one another and won't even listen to each other's point of view? Solomon says it's not wise to do this. So this is something that we need to evaluate if we're doing in our lives because of our own personal issues. Now I want to compare some instances where our forefathers in the scriptures communicated to others by the actions that they took and circumstances that they were in. We will examine Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who were living during the time of the Babylonian captivity, and King Manasseh during his reign in Jerusalem, prior to the time when he had humbled himself before the Most High and repented. Daniel chapter 3, verse 1, verses 4 through 8. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold, whose height was 80 cubits, and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it on the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon. Then a herald cried aloud, "To you it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages, that at the time you hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king hath set up. And whoso falleth not down and worshipeth shall the same hour be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace." Therefore at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and all kinds of music, all the people, the nations, and the languages fell down and worshipped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Wherefore, at that time, certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. Verses 12 through 13. There are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. They have not served thy gods, nor worshipped the golden image which thou hast set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. So these were the laws of Babylon that had been established by King Nebuchadnezzar, and those who chose not to follow them would be executed. And as shown here, the Chaldeans are explaining to the king that they have discovered these certain men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who aren't obeying the decree. Clearly, you can see here that what these 3 Hebrew men were doing was communicating through their actions. They were taking a stand and declaring with their actions what they were not willing to do. But they will explain this through their own words as well. Verses 16 through 18. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our Elohim, who we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thy hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. They were emphatically stating here that they will not bow down to the image, because they are servants of the one true Elohim only. But truly, it was the actions that they took that was making a statement that they would not succumb to the wicked practices of the heathens. They would obey the voice of the Most High Yah. And this is what we see as a good example of communication that we should follow. Regardless of what those around us are doing in unrighteousness, we must stand fast in what is right. And that communicates to the Most High Yah and others that we are only servants of Him, first and foremost. We are a holy people, and we have to act like it. Contrastingly, let's take a look at Manasseh and what actions he did at the beginning of his reign. Initially, he led his people to err in their ways and communicated to everyone the disregard he had for Yah's word. 2 Chronicles chapter 33 verses 1 through 9. Manasseh was 12 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 55 years in Jerusalem, but did that which was evil in the sight of Yahuwah, like unto the abominations of the heathen, whom Yahuwah had cast out before the children of Israel. For he built again the high places which Hezekiah his father had broken down, and he reared up altars for beef, and made groves, and worshipped all the hosts of heaven, and served them. Also he built altars in the house of Yahuwah, whereof Yahuwah had said, In Jerusalem shall my name be forever. And he built altars for the host of heaven, in the 2 courts of the house of Yahuwah. And he caused his children to pass through the fire, in the valley of the son of Hinnom. Also he observed times, and used enchantments, and used witchcraft, and dealt with a familiar spirit, and with wizards. And he wrought much evil in the sight of Yahuwah, to provoke him to anger. And he set a carved image, the idol which he had made in the house of Elohim, of which Elohim had said to David and to Solomon his son, In this house and in Jerusalem, which I have chosen before all the tribes of Israel, will I put my name forever. Neither will I any more remove from the foot of Israel from out of the hand which I have appointed for your fathers, so that they will take heed to do all that I have commanded them, according to the whole law, and the statutes and the ordinances by the hand of Moses. So Manasseh made Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem to err, and to do worse than the heathen, whom Yahuwah had destroyed before the children of Israel. Not only did Manasseh participate in the wicked deeds of the nations, but he created an environment that promoted this wickedness in Israel. That sent a message to everyone that it was perfectly fine to commit these abominations, but it caused Judah to sin worse than what the heathens had done. When we live a life where we have no boundaries, we send a message to others that our lifestyle is okay for others as well. Consequently, this behavior can spread like a wildfire in the community. And even in specific actions that we take that are unrighteous, we are communicating to others in the same manner as well. But in our relationship with the Most High is really where we are communicating something. We show we have no fear of Him, and this is how Israel has continued to fall in the curses. We reject the Most High and His commandments, so He says He will reject us. So it's up to us to take correct actions, which demonstrates to all what life we truly want to live. Do we want to live a life of righteousness or wickedness? That is what I wanted to discuss today. Are we communicating effectively and righteously? What words are we leaving with others? And what kind of behavior are we putting on display for others to see? Because this is all being taken into account by Yah, and He is the ultimate judge of whether we live righteous or wicked lives before His face. So I hope I left something for you guys to think about. Feel free to leave any comments about this subject that you have in the comments section below. There are definitely some ways that we can all improve in our communication. Alright, I'll see you guys next time. Shalom.